everyone, Wenzeltron here, and we're back on Heroes of the Storm. But today's video is going to be a little bit more of a vloggy thing. More of like a recap and what's going on in Heroes of the Storm, basically. Because there's been a lot that's changed. At the time I was recording, tomorrow morning will be the new patch for basically Heroes 2.5 or 3.0. All of the laning changes will go in effect. All of the stealth reworks will go in effect. And then some of the meta changes for how certain maps play, such as Cursed Hollow, will be different, and just basically a lot of the game's current functionality is going to go the wayside. We have already experienced the change in support play. All supports across the board have now received a 5% health damage and healing nerf, and we've already seen some of these effects. So with that, we're going to go over what the GCWC was held in China over the last 2 weeks or so. We're just going to look at the meta snapshot just to see what these changes are going to bring for us in the future, and basically everything I need to work on video-wise to bring out to you guys. But this is just a little recap of everything I've missed. Alright everyone, so here is the group stage meta overview. So as you can see, from all heroes, popularity-wise, Rhaegar was the #1, followed by Greymane, ETC, Tassadar, and then Genji at number 5. So we're just going to worry about these first 5 really quick right here, and then we can just look at see. So this is prior to the healing nerfs. Also, just a quick shout out, this is masterleague.net. They are super awesome and amazing. They always have some amazing support, getting all this stuff here visible for us. So if you guys ever want to look this up, it's at masterleague.net. They're awesome. They're amazing. Huge shout out to these guys for collecting all this stuff. So here we go. ETC, #1 tank. Very, very not surprising. But prior to this, we had Rhaegar still the #1. This is because he did have Lightning Bond still in play, followed by Tassadar because he's the double support master. With Lucio coming in at 3rd, and finally Karzi. Assassin-wise, similar picture. We Greymane #1 as per usual, with Genji closely behind, followed by Li Ming and Vala. Swap those two. And then also Junkrat. There's a lot of people playing around with Junkrat, figuring out where his place was. And then countering the Vala Greymane, we had Cassia coming in as well. Nothing surprising here. Not a whole ton of Medivh play, but we did see Abathur quite a bit. So now, if we go back though, and we switch this to the playoff stage, this kind of changes the tone. So this is when the play shifts with the tank meta. We had a very different type of game. So ETC has now been the most banned hero. So we go back here to draft. So top first ban was 50-50 between Abathur and ETC. That's pretty crazy. Next, we had 50%. Or no, sorry. Same ban right there. But ETC was also banned 10 times or pick first pick, and then also banned second pick too. Many of the teams are very, very solid with this hero. Fnatic is amazing with it. Let's say Roll20 picks it. And then the other part of this though that really surprises me is the Lucio priority. Team Dignitas did absolutely amazing in this tournament. Spoiler alert, they took 2nd place. They have performed very, very well. And then the other thing here is Rhaegar completely has fallen down into the very bottom of the tier. And Uther was the 2nd support. Usually you'd see like Uther Karzims or Uther Tastars to get double support. But for the most part, Lucio is now the #1 support. And then assassin-wise, pretty much stayed the same. There was a lot of Tracer in the group because Dignitas can run it very, very strongly. They can just destroy teams. They can have no fear going in. And there's a lot of cool games in the playoffs with Dignitas. So I would recommend you guys check those out. And last but not least, we had Abathur picked much more as well. He was banned just as much too. So, and then the other part I want to mention here is that Arthas has now become one of the craziest tanks in the game. He was used in both offlaning and in the main tank role because of his roots are just absolutely so strong. His level 1 talent that allows you to get a ever expanding area, reduce the cooldown, and then in the trail it'll root targets that get hit by it. It just does so much work, and then at level 13 he gets an armor reduction. Just does so much stuff for you. I'm really excited about that. Just to see Arthas come into the game, and I've actually started using him in my games, and it's been working out really well. And then last but not least, we have to always make the honorable mention of Tyrael here. Tyrael is one of those guys that comes into the Korean meta and the Chinese meta all of the time. They just prioritize this guy so much. His sanctification combos are so good. And the other thing that was surprising is that this year, actually, he didn't come up in the BlizzCon meta at all. But the overall story is that Tyrael is just amazing for those mobility comps. I'm blanking right now. I think that's about it. Alright everyone, so here we go. I just brought up the more meaningful early game thing that they posted article. So just gonna do a quick overview of this. So like I'm gonna call this is Heroes 2.5 or 3.0. I think this is a really good idea. So ammunition towers and structures, they're just gonna get infinite ammo. So the war of attrition where you have like the Dahaka solo laning and he just passively soaks lanes, that's not gonna give you as much value as before. Now you're gonna have to take those heroes and you're gonna have to wait till your lane hits the front wall and then actively attack those towers. That's pretty huge. And on top of this, they added True Sight because the heroes with the standalone tower removal. If you notice, like they say here, Volskaya Foundry doesn't have those. Didn't even notice until I read this. True Sight is good to keep our little squishy guys like Murky's Egg and Abathur safe behind their walls. And then this is one of my favorite ones here is these regen globes. I just think these regen globes are going to be providing so much more utility for the heroes that like collecting them. And then along with these support changes, this is going to give bruisers a little bit more priority that use them. Like I mentioned, the Leoric talent, any of the tanks that get regen master, which is not many anymore. But for the most part, I just think getting double regen globes for sustaining and being able to provide more 1v1 style play as a player is going to be more skillful, which is really interesting. And then like I said, the battleground mechanics have been simplified. So Blackheart's Dragon Shrine and Braxis all start at 1:30, and then for the remainder of the maps have all changed to 3 minutes except for Spider Queen and Volskaya. I actually don't know what the timers specifically are for Volskaya. I know like feeling wise, but not specifically. And then obviously Tomb is just, they come with the mini waves, so they don't need to really change that. And then last but not least too, this goes with the solo lane / your kind of bruiser off tank, because usually the solo lane is also your camp taker. All of the camps are becoming way more impactful. So the net camp gets a armor buff for spell damage, and in those maps that you can stack 2 of them, like the ones in the Dragon Shrine, you can steal both of the top camps. Those are going to be way more impactful if you can get both of them, because that spell armor buff means that wave is not going to die. And usually when you do these camps, you're going to be focusing AoE on them, and that's really big because it's, I think, 30 if you get both of them, but 15 if you get one of them. But it's note too that the only is the wizard that provides the buff, so that's important. And then the Hellbat camp will stack a armor debuff, and then the thing here too is that it will actually do an armor debuff on the structures as well, which means if you push with them, you can push your structures faster. And then the siege giants, though, this is going back on what I said about your camp taker, is that the giants can now be microed their auto attacks like the catapults. You can see where they're going to be hit on the ground, and then you can move actively out of them, which is interesting. So all of these laning things means that if you're a good person, like a good macro player, is you can force advantages onto the map by outplaying in the lane, getting camps at certain intervals more quickly, and pushing with them rather than getting a like a war of attrition sense where you're pulling people away from the map, whereas instead you're going to be getting the camp, pushing with the camp, and then going through it. It's really interesting to see where this is all going, and I've been spending a lot of time just trying to theory craft in my brain where this is all heading, and I don't really know, but I do know that if we look at the heroes here, the ones that stand out to me in my head are ones like Zarya. So the reason that ones like Zarya and like Tyrael are coming into the meta are they have their own self-sustain, and they're very, very sturdy. And because these heroes weren't touched by the support nerf, you're going to see shields become more popular. You're going to see New Barak as burst and mages come back, and you saw him return. And then you saw already I talked about Arthas, and I talked a little bit about Tyrael, but he also has his own version of self-sustaining with his W, his little shield. And that just helps heroes like Lucio, because since his shield didn't reduce healing, is coming back. And then because lane clear is more valued now as well, you're gonna see Ragnaros a little bit, but then Gul'dan's, he's really into the meta now. And you'll still see Greymane, he's always solid. And then last, you'll see Illidan's probably, and possibly even Zeratil's. And then False Dad can work, but with Genji being so high in the meta, he kind of falls off a little bit. But yeah, there's just so much here, and there's going to be a lot of learning opportunities here. As for supports, I still think that Stukov here is underutilized, and I do think they need to tweak Alexstrasza. Long story short, everyone, that's the game in a nutshell right now. It's changing a lot. And I'm going to have to do all the stealth updates. I'm going to have to do Hanzo. I didn't even talk about him because there's nothing to talk about yet. He did receive buffs on the PTR last week. People are glad about that. I haven't heard of whether he's broken or anything like that. But yeah, lane clear is going to be a priority in the very near future for Heroes of the Storm. And I can't wait for the HGC that starts next year to see how this all shakes out, because that's how I've really come to learn the game. Gotta say that Lucio is one of my favorites currently. So with that, everyone, I want to throw this to you, and I want you to tell me what you guys see as the, like, what do you see coming, basically, is what do you think about this crazy update? Because it is crazy. It might not seem crazy to some of you, but it's pretty crazy. So thank you all for watching, and there's going to be a whole bunch of content coming. I just had to finish finals this week on Wednesday, and then we'll get back to our normally scheduled programming. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update of all the craziness. It's kind of like the calm before the storm. So thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you all in the next one.